So did we actually go from a 100-foot boat to a 26-foot boat? Yes, we did. How long did we have this 26-foot boat? About 3 weeks. That pretty much tells the entire story. Actually, it doesn't. So to rewind the clock here, about 5 years ago, my wife and I had owned multiple boats at that point, up to an 80-foot boat, and our dream was to own a 100-foot boat. And we went out and found this boat. We wanted to sail the Pacific and found this boat. It was one of one in the world, named Bravo. And we took it through an entire refit back in 2019 to 2020. It took us almost an entire year. And it was a dream of ours, only for us to finish up, expecting to head out into the Pacific and COVID to hit. So we spent the next couple of years driving up and down the eastern seaboard until the world decided to open itself back up. But at that point, we were pretty tired of owning a 100-foot boat. Why? You'll see a lot in this videos of why. A lot of it had to do with crew. Okay, the majority of it had to do with crew. But at the end of the day, we just decided that we wanted a simpler life.
I knew nothing about boating about 10, 15 years ago. My wife had planned 7 days of dates for us, and we're just kind of go type people. So we sat down in a park, and when we were sitting there after about 10 minutes, we're like, yeah, we're bored. So that was the end of the date, and I said to my wife, hey, why don't we get a boat, just as a whim? So that began the journey. We went from a 40-foot boat initially up to a 55-foot boat, and then the next boat was an 80-foot boat. And there were things that we liked about our 80-foot boat, but we really wanted to go into full displacement vessel.
This is Captain G Wiz with your G Wiz information of the day. Let's get to it. Flow displacement vessels move the water out of the way to move through the water rather than on top. They're designed to travel very long distances, valuing comfort over speed. Some examples are trawlers, tankers, and cruise ships. Now let's look at some other types. Planing vessels. Flat bottom, go fast, have fun. Semi-displacement. Travel, stay a while, but not too long. And full displacement. Travel the world, but get comfortable, because you're in it for the long haul. Captain G Wiz out.
And there were things that we liked about our 80-foot boat, but we really wanted to go into full displacement vessel, and we wanted to run long distances. And because I started to realize that is where the boat becomes very fuel efficient, is when you're running larger vessels at 10 and 12 and 13 knots, you're getting very close to the efficiency of what you would find in a 40-foot or 30-foot vessel. And I always had this dream of going down through the Panama Canal, going out to the Marquesas and Fiji, and going all the way up through the Solomon Islands. I was a World War II buff, so I wanted to kind of follow that up into Asia, and I used to live in Asia. and I want to experience that with my wife, and then come around Alaska and come around the West Coast. And in order to do that, we really needed a vessel that had about a 6,000 mile range, because from Panama to the Marquesas is about 3,800 miles. So it's about a 20-day trip. So we really needed a vessel that was long range expedition type vessel. And we found Bravo. Bravo, when we bought her, she was a disaster, total disaster. Nothing worked on her, completely neglected. Interior-wise, I mean, there was bugs and cockroaches everywhere. You'd pull up a panel on the floor and cockroaches would just scatter. Nothing worked. We ended up sailing the vessel back after spending a couple $100,000 just to get her seaworthy from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa, where we started the refit. I ended up sailing it back with like an iPhone because like nothing worked on it. None of the Navtronics worked. It was a disaster. And then that's when we started the 6 to 7 month refit on Bravo. Full interior refit, full systems refit, gutted literally everything, and started rebuilding all the systems. And then we finished the refit the day that COVID broke out and the world shut down. So yeah, that pretty much torpedoed the idea of going out to Fiji and Marquesas. And a little bit about Bravo. She was a 100-foot vessel. She weighed approximately 225,000 pounds. So she was about 30 to 40% heavier than a typical 100-footer. She carried 7,200 gallons of diesel, which would give her just about a 6,000 mile range at about 10 to 12 knots. She was one of one in the world. She was a Stevens vessel, Stevens was a very famous yacht builder out in California. And the reason they went out of business is because they refused to cut corners and always built their vessels from aluminum. It had been built back in the 1970s, and then in 1997 the vessel was taken out to Macmillan and Wing out in New Zealand, and it was completely rebuilt to the tune of more than $10 million. It was gutted like an avocado, and it was lengthened from a 92 to 100 feet. And a very famous family owned it. And they were making it a true expedition vessel, where they're planning to put a sub on the vessel. And anyhow, long story short, the family decided to get rid of the vessel in the early 2000s, and another family took over it from 2002 to 2013. You know, it's very funny because you think bigger, better, faster. At least, you know, that's what I think a lot of people do. You know, everyone's looking for that bigger boat, and, you know, we did. You know, when you're in 50s, you're looking at 70s. When you're at 70s, you're looking at 90s. When you're at 90s, you're looking at 110s. I think that's normal, but, you know, it was one of the reasons why it caused my wife and I to really step back and go down to a 26-foot boat, which we had for like 2.5 weeks, and put a 38 on order, which is our best memories were actually when we were running our smallest boats. There isn't a lot of true boaters who own 100-foot boats. And if they do, when they're on their 100-foot boat, that's not real boating. It may be entertaining, but you're not boating. And we wanted to get back to being in boating. That's what we wanted to do.
On the next episode, follow us on our trip from Clearwater, Florida to Baltimore, Maryland. A 6-day, 1,300-mile trip. A fun, yet insightful trip. Full of adventure and some not-so-ideal conditions. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And go check out episode 2 while you're at it.